We have a question here, sir. Can I just read it for you?
Yes, please.
It is from Sandeep Tibrewal. He asks, what are the chances of getting the money back from the bank after such a fraud has happened?
Sure. So Sandeep, again, it depends on what kind of fraud has happened, right? If it is, let's say, a fraud which is on a wallet top-up or on a where the money has gone to a particular wallet, often the time is that you will be able to get that money back if it is reported in time. In case of peer-to-merchant transactions, also we can save a lot of money. In case of it becomes a bank-to-bank transfer, it depends on the time frame. Within the first couple of hours, definitely the chances are pretty high. The moment it goes beyond, let's say, a day, the chances become probably somewhere you can looking at 10 to 15%, and anything older than, let's say, a 5-day, the chances are probably less than 5%. And the primary reason for that is what we have seen across is within 24 hours, the fraudsters tend to take this money out. Either what will happen is there is a set of people, there will be mule accounts which will get created, there will be money which will move out to a different bank account, and within 10-15 minutes of that, there will be an ATM withdrawal. And then it enters into the cash economy, which becomes very, very difficult to trace.
Thank you so much, sir. The next question is from Palak. She asks, we just implemented KYC to shoo away fraudsters, but we saw a massive dip in our revenue. Any recommendations on a user-friendly and fraudster-unfriendly flow?
So, Palak, there is no easy answer to that, right? KYC, though, is the deterrent, but if you look at the digitization that we want to do, India still is a very, very cash-heavy economy, right? And hence you see RBI coming out with a mobile number OTP-based wallet, though it has its limitation of 10,000, etc., which has come in. People will continue to do fraud, right? Of course, it has to be a balancing act between how do you balance out revenues. The idea is to not impact genuine customers. If you impact only KYC, then yes, you will lose a lot of customers, you will lose a lot of business. It is about assessing the profile. It is about seeing that an account gets created and within the next 5 minutes, 10,000 rupees of transaction is happening and that amount is trying to move away. Those are things that you block. Next question.
Next question is, Harshit has a very simple question, sir. Sharing only the bank account number and IFSC code, can it result into a bank fraud?
The answer is no. It is as good as saying that I have shared my email ID and a fraud can happen. See, our banking system in India, fortunately, is very, very secure. RBI has been since ages. I think 2FA was mandated when no other country was mandating it. And almost every single transaction is a 2FA, either a hidden 2FA or a explicit 2FA. Sharing an account FC, I have not come across any fraud scenario which can result into.
Great. So then Rishabh Somani asks, if this type of fraud occurs, what is the period of time for reporting? I guess Rishabh, sir has already mentioned about it while he was talking about it on his presentation, right, sir?
Yeah. So report it as soon as possible. The faster you report it, and report it in multiple channels, right? Don't worry about saying if you get to know that you got an SMS that the money has been used on a phone pay or on a Flipkart, report to both. Report to, let's say, a phone pay, report to your bank, report to your card processor. You should report to as many places as possible because at the end of the day, whoever takes faster action, your money will be saved.
Okay. So there's a question from Naresh Babu. He says, many banks not interested to take compliment against the dispute transactions. They directly send the victim to police station. Any guidelines for bank to deal with cyber frauds?
So there are guidelines in RBI which they are mandated to take. In case of such transactions, you can always go and ask the bank to raise a fraud chargeback, right? Saying this transaction was not done by me. There is a process for that, and the banks will be taking those fraud chargeback complaints.
Right. Mahendra Singh Rathore is asking, sir, Some of the incidents happened that without any OTP or calls or any sharing information, money has been debited. How is this possible?
I'm not aware of any such fraud. There is one very advanced fraud. Again, I did not cover here because that is 99.99% of cases we will never see that. Those are called as APTs, or advanced persistent threats. These are malwares in which once you click on a link, either they will install an app in the guise of some other well-known app, or there could be silent APT attacks also, which I can transfer your entire OTP, etc. to a remote server. The most common I have seen is people asking to install an app and sign in that shares the OTP, etc. to a different. So I will give you an example. I use a genuine service called as Microsoft SMS, right? And I can, if I sign into that, and I can view all the SMSs on my computer. Normally, fraudsters employ one of these categories, but it has to be an active involvement from the complainant. I have not seen any case where there's nothing which has been done.
Right, I think this is also on a boost nowadays. Also, when people save their passwords on their phones, contact list, I guess that also allows them or gives them access to such things.
Right.
All right. Wasim has a very sweet question saying, how can we ensure safety of our grandparents? They do not know much about cyber fraud. Any tips for our seniors?
Yeah. So my objective function has always been that. How do I let my mom, dad, or their parents to use these? While they will be most comfortable using the banking systems they have grown up, which is checks or this thing, they do find convenience in using this. The simplest thing is ask them to follow one app. Do not ask them to download. See, today we are in a generation where we install multiple apps. For their banking financial transaction, ask them to use one app. Tell them about, unless you want to do it, do not authorize anything. Most of the times the banks will call, the fraudsters will call in guise of bank saying that we will deactivate your bank account or SMS, ask them to deactivate. Worst case scenario, they will have to walk towards the bank to get it reactivated if it was a genuine mistake, but do not authorize anything.
Oh, that's all right, sir. I see there's another question which I think should be answered for our audience. It says, it's from, just give me a moment. Yeah. So it says, it's from Redmi. It says, is there any common platform for sharing fraudster information, data between banks, wallets, and cyber police stations?
Currently, the answer is both yes and no. Centrally, there is no database in which a banks and a police station, as well as, let's say, the third-party players collaborate today. Reasons around both from a data privacy concern to we don't know how will we moderate any of these. Both RBI is working on that as well as NPCIS, and as I told you, we are working towards that. CyberSafe today is one of those common platforms where you can actually, the law enforcement as well as banks, etc., can contribute to that. And that list is today over greater than, if I'm not wrong, greater than 25,000 numbers which have already been blacklisted.
Okay, sir. Now this question also involves maybe your, competitors. Which among the following, Paytm, PhonePe, or Google Pay, is more secure than others?
I don't have an answer to that because I have checked the security from a pure play application security to a fraud security, and all three players have the same levels of security. It is more about the adoption of one versus other, and I will not comment on individual players over here.
Okay, this is Vikram from Police Department. Good morning, sir. One of my friends transferred 50,000 to his friend. The amount debited from my friend's account, but not credited to his friend's account. It happened 8 days ago. Since now, not getting the money means none of them have received the money. What could be the issue? How should he go by? I mean, should he report it to somebody, or
Yeah. So this is, though with digitization, these things should not happen. However, because of the infrastructure, as I showed you in the slides, right, there could be 7 to 8 different entities. What happens in most of these case scenarios is the debit leg is successful, the credit leg fails. It could be because of a core service being down. The money normally moves into the suspense accounts of a bank, which is a receiver bank or a sender bank. Most often than not, they should get reconciled within a period of 2 to 3 days. That is a normal turnaround time. If it has not happened, please reach out to the app player as well as to your bank. Even if this does not get solved, I think there is a scheme of digital banking ombudsman digital transactions. That is where you can appeal to an RBI if the funds do not get. Normally, it is just a reconciliation issue. Once the reconciliation is done, the amount will get credited.
Right, so thank you. Yeah, where one can report for such fraudulent requests, whether money is transferred or not.
This body is the National Cybercrime Portal. I think it is cybercrime.gov.in.
Yes,
we work with them also. That is the biggest portal from a customer to report any kinds of fraud, including a transactional fraud or a phishing fraud or each of these. I think that is the most centralized, easily available platform today for any customer to report.
There's another question. So many cases, PhonePe does not provide the IPs of suspect transactions. I guess this question is incomplete, sir. I guess, or maybe would you like to just address it on PhonePe behalf?
So PhonePe does provide to the law enforcement agency whenever a transaction is asked, the IP, etc. It could be a reporting error. I haven't seen. Maybe if you can highlight on the email chain that you're already there, we'll take that.
Right. The next question is Harshpreet Kaur. Is she a layman to prevent from such frauds?
The most best easy way is, I think, I recommend go and read the blog post and in terms of growing fraud trends, right? To make yourself aware that I think awareness is the best prevention strategy over there. Second is do not share an OTP, a CVV, or enter a PIN if you are in doubt. It's best to decline.
Right. The next question is, sir, Palak has another question here. She asked, is there a central repository of blacklisted phone numbers? I have seen some fraudsters on our website who had previously done fraud on other wallet website reported through CyberCell. We can block them right at the registration then.
Project which is already live. For details, you can reach out to me over LinkedIn or something, and we can connect, and I can connect you to the further entities.
All right, sir. Is there any chance to freeze the bank account which was fraudster used through PhonePe support?
Unfortunately, the answer is no. We have worked with banks. It comes down to both jurisdiction as well as the provisions under the law or RBI guidelines. As of now, there is no guidelines in which a PhonePe can ask. What we do is we do request. If a bank at the end...
So the next question is from Vineet Yadav. He asked, during some mutual funds app registrations, they ask for Aadhaar linked number verification and also to verify the email ID linked with Aadhaar through OTP.
I will be unable to comment on that. Again, register with the apps that you know. If there are genuine apps, don't see a chance of getting defrauded. Almost every company which is in a fintech space has strong guardrails across data security, both from an integrated or a RBI or a SEBI governance. You should not see any of those frauds.
Right. Next question is from Subruto Sharma. Why e-wallet company doesn't provide latitude and longitude of user?
Again, it depends. If it is a company which is meant, it will revert back. In our case, we do not mandate it. And the IP reverse, what we have seen accurate. For one case I had seen, and we were testing it out, and hence we do not, is though I had done a transaction in Bangalore, the IP reverse showed me in Chennai. Even if I give information. So we try to give only information which we know is correct.
Okay, thank you, sir. The next question is, I think this is the last question that we take for today. It is from Arunima. Does the bank offer any protection in the event into transferring money out of our account?
Yes. So if a bank, so I'm assuming you're talking about as a customer, funds out of your account or a fraudulent or anything. In that case, since you are not at fault, RBI guidelines are very clear about that. It is if the customer is not at fault, either it is a player or a bank which is at fault, it will have to be reimbursed.
Right. Great, sir. Thank you so much. I guess there are a lot of questions pending. I would request the audience to write into also on Cyber Peace Foundation and Cyber Peace Code. Please do write into us. We'll forward those questions to you, sir, and maybe we can answer them there on our website and social media platforms, right? Right. Thank you so much, sir, for your time. Thank you, audience, for being there and being so proactive. The questions are still increasing. Thank you. But we shall address them on our social medias. You can write into us. Please feel free to do that. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Have a nice day.
You too, sir. Thank you.